Hi, I'm Dave Harmon. We run a packing business here with our llamas. This is Billy the Kid here. This is a llama. They're from South America. Originally, they were used as a beast of burden for 5,000 years. One of the oldest domesticated animals in the world. Ranks up there with a dog and other livestock. Some of the things about a llama, maybe you would, when you first look at them, you notice they've got kind of a long neck, large ears. They've got very sensitive ears, and they're very good at hearing, and they can also move each one independently, you'll notice, like a horse or mule. Some of the interesting characteristics of a llama, first of all, are its feet. If you look at the llama's foot, initially you think it's like a white-tailed deer. It looks like a cloven hoofed animal, when in fact they aren't. I'll lift up the foot in a second and show you, and what you'll see is a kind of a round leather pad. Llamas are digitigrade animals like a dog or humans or bears. They walk with a lot of bones on the surface of the ground. Because of that, they're good in the backcountry. They don't seem to tear up a trail like a hoof that's a hard enamel structure that digs into the dirt. I'll try to lift up the foot here, and you can see that round leather pad and then two toenails sticking out. Come here, go. Okay. There you can see it, the leather pad here, and then two toenails sticking out here and here. But it's connected in the center, you see, it's not cloven. It gives them a large surface area. We do need to trim the toenails occasionally, usually once or twice a year. We'll trim the toenails on these guys. So I mentioned some of the interesting things about llamas, their feet. Another interesting thing, you watch when they walk, maybe you've already noticed, whereas horses are, they have a walking gait, they alternate feet like this. Llamas are pacers, and some horses can be trained to pace. They move the feet on the same side of the body at the same time. Okay, what that does, there's some advantages and disadvantages to that. One thing, they're very sure-footed, because when they pick up their front foot, their back foot goes right where their front foot was. So you'll notice that as we start walking with them. As far as caring for these llamas, they're a really hardy animal. I guess they'd be like goats. I'd compare them a lot to goats as far as their eating habits and their ease of maintenance and that type of thing. Usually they eat about 6 pounds of hay a day, about a third of what a horse would, because their body weight is about a third of what a horse's is. They weigh generally average. Billy the Kid here is 300 pounds, and I think Black-Eyed Jack is 330 pounds. That's about an average weight for a llama. So if you take 2% of their body weight, which is what most mammals eat, then it works out to about 6 pounds of hay a day, which isn't much. They drink water, but not as much as maybe some other critters. They are members of the camel family. And you know how camels can conserve water by recycling their urea? Well, llamas have that same capability to do that type of stuff. Some people make the mistake of thinking they don't have to give them any water, which isn't true. They do need a certain amount of water each day, but I know when we go in the backcountry, sometimes the first day they won't drink any water at all, even if you offer it to them. And it'll be like the second day before they take a drink. So they're very easy to care for. We give them common inoculations and worming medicine that is compatible with horses and other livestock. The vets, getting a veterinarian to work on the llamas is becoming more easy now. They've been around for 10 or 12 years in our country. They've been common for that long. And a lot of the veterinarians now know about llamas, their intricacies, and how to work with them. They're ruminants, like cattle, and goats and deer. They chew a cud, and you'll watch them setting out in the pasture. It's very peaceful to watch them sitting there chewing their cud. A lot of people ask if llamas spit. Well, yeah, llamas spit. It's their way of interacting. Instead of biting at each other or kicking or some other type of behavior, the way llamas settle arguments is they spit at each other. And it's it's a bad smelling stuff, and if you happen to be unfortunate and get caught between two llamas that are spitting, you'll swear you'll never want it to happen again, because it really stinks and it sticks in your hair and it's terrible stuff. But that would be a drawback. But when you consider that versus being bitten or kicked, I'll take an occasional spit, I guess. That's one advantage of packing with llamas, is their ease of transporting. You can see how easy they get in and out of a stock trailer. A lot of people will use a pickup truck, or they can easily jump in and out of a pickup truck with a stock rack. A lot of people even use a van, a Dodge van or something, and they'll jump into the back of the van and ride with you to the trailhead. Most people only need one or two llamas for packing their stuff, and so minimum amount of things are needed. Another advantage of, or I guess to talk about how it compares using llamas with horses and mules, there's a number of reasons why some are better in some instances and others are better in others. To start with, you can't ride a llama. They carry about 80 to 100 pounds, so unless you're a small child, you really can't expect a llama to carry you. Llamas kind of fit in a spectrum of visiting the backcountry, somewhere between backpacking and horsepacking. When you're backpacking, you're hiking and you're carrying all the load on your back. Horsepacking, you're usually riding a horse and a mule's carrying your stuff. Well, when you pack with llamas, you hike as you would if you're backpacking, but the llama's carrying all your gear. There's some advantages and disadvantages to using llamas compared to doing it one of two other ways. Even though packing with llamas is low impact, it's still more impact than if you were hiking, because you're taking more stuff. You've got 6 feet versus 2 feet treading down the trail. So people shouldn't make the mistake of saying, yeah, I'll use llamas because it's lower impact. Well, it's not lower impact than backpacking. Now, compared to, say, using other types of stock, there are some advantages. For one thing, their feet are constructed differently and are going to have less impact. Also, some of the things they do on the trail, we're going to go for a hike in a second, and you'll see that the llamas are going to want to eat, browse as they go along the trail. They're more like deer. They have habits like deer. They like to sniff you like this to find out who you are. But llamas, as we're going down the trail, you see them taking a little nibble of a pine needle. They'll find a stick and they'll be chewing on the stick. What that means when you go packing with llamas is that you don't have to carry any feed for them. And that's an advantage for a couple of reasons. The main one being that a big problem we have in the backcountry is with noxious weeds. And people haul in hay that have weeds, knapweed and other tenacious weeds that proliferate in the backcountry. But with llamas, you don't have to carry any of the hay in. You do carry about a cup of grain with you per day per llama, just as extra energy source. But generally, llamas get all the energy they need just browsing, going along the trail. We're going to tie them up now and throw on some packs. Llama packs, the ones that we have here, and most all llama packs are very simple. That's another difference from packing with other stock, whereas you have to be kind of a knot engineer to do some of the other type of packing. You have to know all these knots, and it's large, heavy equipment. With llamas, it's very simple equipment, and anybody can do it. So I'll tie them up and we'll give it a try. Yeah, you're fine. The llamas have been around long enough now so that there's a number of pack manufacturers around the country, and it's pretty easy to get equipment now specifically designed for llamas. It used to be, 8 years ago, you had to pretty much make your own things, but now you can buy them commercially. They range anywhere from a couple $100 to $400 to have a pack set up for a llama. I'll attach the front cinch first. I'm putting on the Velcro now, sticking it in place. The rear cinch, sticking it in place. This is the breast strap. Purpose of the breast strap is same as with packing with other stock, is to keep the pack from sliding back. And then the crupper goes in under the tail, and that keeps the pack from sliding forward. You can see how easy it is to put on a pack saddle. Then the panniers attach to the llama. Whoa, Bill. One on each side. Okay, a thing to keep in mind if you decide to pack with llamas is that you can have a visual impact in the backcountry. You can see the difference in these panniers. They both look kind of bright to you maybe from this distance, but if you were up on a ridgetop looking down at these llamas, you know, a quarter mile away or something, there's going to be quite a difference. This is going to really stand out and is going to visually impact your experience standing up on that hill. Whereas if you look down and you see this green packed and the llama's kind of blending with things, you're hardly going to notice him. So keep that in mind when you choose not only packing equipment for the llamas, but your tents, your jacket material and stuff. You're making a statement. A lot of people, it seems like recently, are really into fluorescent green and fluorescent orange and those type of things. Well, during hunting season, maybe that makes sense, but during the summer, you're having a big impact by the colors that you wear in the backcountry. So we'll put this pack on Black-Eyed Jack. Ooh, Jim. Oh. Ooh. That's a good boy. When you're working with llamas, one aspect is the safety feature, is that llamas don't bite. They only have teeth on the bottom. They don't have any upper teeth, so they've never learned to bite people. They don't bite each other. They really don't kick because it doesn't really do much harm. You know, you've got a round pad on the bottom of their foot, so what good is kicking going to do? So they're pretty much a harmless animal. I mean, you should still respect them because they weigh 330 pounds, and they could hurt you if they jumped into you, but basically it's real good for people with children. We do a lot of trips with children, and you can see, you know, 6-year-old children can lead the llamas down the trail with pretty much with a lot of confidence that nothing's going to happen to the child. That's another place where llamas seem to fit in pretty well, is that people who are backpackers and have been packing all their life, well, all of a sudden they have a child and they can't carry the child and all the gear they need to. Well, a llama makes a good companion for that. Then they can carry the child in their back, or they could even have the child ride on the llama if the child was, you know, 8 years old or so and could hang on. They have little pony saddles that you could put on the llama, and your child could ride on the llama and you could carry gear on your back. So it works out well for that. As well as for people who have had injuries, and maybe they have bad knees. They still want to get into the backcountry, but they can't carry the weight. The llamas would work for that. Or for older people. One thing you'll notice about llamas is that they aren't quite as friendly as horses or mules. They tolerate being touched, but they don't exactly like it. You see Jack's ears are back here, and he's kind of saying, yeah, go ahead and touch me if you want, but I'm not really enjoying it. Whereas, you know, with some horses, they seem to be a bit more affectionate. So llamas are a little more aloof that way. But another personality trait is that llamas are very calm. Whereas you could be walking down the trail with a llama and a grouse could take off, and the llama will stand there and think about it first before he does anything. They're very calm and not ones to get excited over little things. That makes them good with kids. So. There are other types of saddles, like I was mentioning, and there's some that look more like the horse and mule type. They're sawbucks or decker type saddles, and they work very well for carrying if you want to put coolers on the side of the llama, or any type of bulky item you could pack on a llama. with a sawbuck type saddle. Okay, I'll put on the breast strap here. And we'll do the crupper in under the tail. There we've got it. This is a little hook in the rear where we can string llamas together. Quite often, one person can lead 3 or 4 llamas quite confidently. These panniers don't have any weight in them, and that's why I can lift them so easily, but even with more weight they're easy to put on. And then quite often if we have a sleeping bag or a tent, we can pile on the center here and put straps over so you can pack more things on the llama. Llama's pace is pretty compatible with that of humans. They walk about 2 or 3 miles an hour, about what most people walk. It's a little slower than with a horse or a mule would be. You can cover more ground with a horse or mule. As we go along the trail, the llamas love to browse, as I guess I mentioned them, with like deer or other animals. They'll eat pine needles, and you see Jack here is interested in, well, it's an old pine needle, he's not too hep on. There's some knapweed plant. You see him eating the knapweed seeds there. They take in this material, they'll digest it, and then after a couple hours it works through 2 or 3 of their stomachs and they bring it back up and chew a cud. They've got a really efficient metabolism, and that's why you don't have to carry any food for them. They're like 3 times as efficient as sheep at using that food stuff. It's really amazing how little they can get by with. My wife and I recently took a trip to South America and looked at the country that they came from in South America, and it's basically a desert area. Very high plateau in the Andes Mountains, and all they have to eat is little bunches of ichu grass, it's called. It's like 5 or 6% protein, and they've survived for thousands of years on that type of vegetation. So when they get here in North America and they've got all this stuff to eat and browse on, they do very well. If you're a horseback rider and you meet some llamas on the trail, it's pretty well known among llama people that horses have the right of way. So we'll get off the trail for you because we're more mobile, we're not riding up on the back of an animal, and it's safer for us. If the llamas start jumping around, we're not going to get hurt. So we'll go off the trail and let the horses come past. One thing to keep in mind if you're a horse owner is that your reaction is going to dictate in part what happens with your horse. If you're nervous about the situation and you tighten up, the horse senses that, he feels you squeezing a little bit and that type of thing, and he's going to get nervous. So just relax. We've passed hundreds and hundreds of horses and mules and not had a problem, and there shouldn't be one. We don't seem to have much problem with wild animals. You know, bears and moose and members of the deer family don't bother llamas. The only one real problem is domestic dogs. We've had a couple of occasions where people have been out hiking with their dogs in the backcountry and not had their dogs under control and have chased the llamas. And when the llamas are tethered, or they're in a corral or an electric fence, or there's a high line strung between 2 trees and we've got the llamas secured like that and they're being chased by dogs, it's a bad situation, and the llamas can end up being killed just out of fright from being chased by the dogs. Let's go, boys. Okay, we've been hiking up the trail. It's about 4 o'clock now, and we've got to start thinking of where we're going to make camp for tonight. As we've been hiking up the trail, we've been looking for an existing campsite because we realized that it'd be make less impact if we use a campsite that's already been built than it would be to start a new one. We haven't found one, and we're a little behind schedule, so we're going to have to choose a place and try to impact it as little as possible. This particular place we're in here, there's a little bit of a meadow out in front of us here. It looks like it might be a pretty good place for the llamas to do some grazing. It's a grassy area that doesn't have a lot of small trees that the llamas are going to kill if they eat the top of them. And it's up on a ridge a little bit where there's a little wind. It'll keep them out of the insects. And it's away from the trail a little, where other people hiking up this trail won't necessarily be walking right past us and won't be impacted by our being here. So all in all, it looks like a pretty good place to make a camp. There's a creek a couple hundred yards away. We're going to try to camp away from that so that we when we do our dishes and when the animals defecate, that stuff's not going to run into the creek. So, and also we got a little south-facing slope here, so in the morning we'll get some morning sun on our tent so it'll keep us warmer. Okay, so we have to do something with our stock, and there's really three good options, or three options. Well, one option is to let the llamas roam freely. That's really the best option as far as minimum impact, because the llamas are grazing, they're not confined in a small area, so their effects of trampling are a lot less. The disadvantage of that would be that they would be able to chew on small trees, and also they could run away. So before you would choose that option, you'd want to make sure that you knew your llamas, you knew which ones to tether so that the other ones would stay around, and which ones you can't let free because they might run away. And the second best option is to put the llamas, say, in a corral. We pack in a portable electric fence with a little battery-operated fence charger, and we can stake out a fairly large area so that the llamas can move in that area, not trample so much, yet they're confined, and I don't have to worry about them running off down the trail. And really the third option, which is the worst probably as far as impact, but it's the most widely used, is tethering your llamas. And there's a number of ways you can do it. You could do it with a stakeout pin that's either driven or screwed into the earth, and then you attach your llama to the stake. Or there's what's called a high line, where you string a rope between two trees and you tie the llama's lead up to the rope, and he gets to move back and forth there. Regardless of if you use the third method of tethering your llama, they need to be moved frequently, because just in a matter of a few hours they'll trample the area where they're tethered and will have a major impact. Nothing looks worse than to look down into a nice beautiful meadow and see these round rings that looks like maybe a spaceship has landed there or something. Well, it's where stock is grazed around in a circle. Something we should mention is how to besides how horses and llamas interact, it's also important how horsemen and llama packers interact. And so far, it's been my experience that we really have a lot in common. Both of us are out here in the wilderness for a lot of the same reasons. We enjoy being out here. We like to do some fishing, or whatever the reason is. It seems like there's a lot in common. And most of the llama packers understand in the West, in the western United States, that horses have been here a long time, and that they've been packing. There's people I meet on the trail that have been packing their whole life in the mountains I'm in. They get a certain, I don't know, I guess they deserve a little bit of respect because they have been here before us. And that's why I was mentioning, when we meet horses on the trail, we don't mind getting off the trail to let the horses go by.